Welcome to
4Kids Flashback. Hello, welcome to 4Kids Flashback. I am Tara Sands, and this is, sitting right here on Zoom,
Steve Yurko. I almost thought you were saying sitting right next to me, and I'm like,
wait, we're not in the same room.
On the screen. Yeah.
On the screen. Sometimes before we start recording, we start talking about our guest, and I'm like, oh, wait, save it for the intro. So Steve was just, we were just talking about how Mike Pollock, our guest today, is on both versions of One Piece.
Yeah. And if I can remember specifically, I don't think he ever had like a named character in the 4Kids version, but they did oddly splice in this little, primer about one of the characters, Chopper, that was played by Lisa in the 4Kids version, and he's the narrator in it. So technically, he's in it.
Yeah, we'll count that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, then eventually he played, Don Quixote homing in the Dressrosa arc of One Piece. A few years ago, that came out, the dub version, and he's one of the few people. He's one of the few 4Kids actors that I could think of that's been. Well,
Erica Schroeder has been in both.
Erica,
I believe Lisa has. Well, we'll talk about that with Mike, but yeah.
Sarah Nicholas as well.
Sarah Nicholas.
Just in case someone's like, and I'm like, no, I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
Well, hi, you guys. Thank you for listening. I can't believe I'm going to say this again, but I just had to respond to someone on social media who said that our episodes were locked behind a paywall. That is not true. You can
False.
It's false. You can get all our episodes free wherever you listen to podcasts, but they are available a week early and ad-free on Patreon. That's patreon.com/4kidsflashback. So whoever that person is, I have corrected them, and we can move on now.
And somehow if you change your ways and you're listening and you got to this episode, and you're like, wow, that was me.
Yeah,
We've come a long way.
I don't think that person's even listening. I think they just like to comment on everything they see.
Because everyone's got to be the smartest person on the internet.
Yeah. So that's our pitch. But yeah, wherever you listen to podcasts, even on YouTube, we like to make it as easy as possible for y'all. And
it is not that hard to listen to the show. It's super easy. All you have to do is go to our website, 4kidsflashback.com, with the number 4. I'm going to make it stupid easy for you.
Yeah.
You just use the number 4. You don't spell out the word 4.
Don't you dare.
You could start there. And that's where you could listen to the show. But if you want to listen to the show a week early, ad-free, that's when you go to Patreon. That's when you kick us $5, and then that's when you get access to everything we got going on there, including some bonus video content and like maybe some some cool stuff people have sent us, like some Pokémon scripts or Yu-Gi-Oh scripts.
Yeah.
Some old Toys R Us promotional videos with the wrong sounding Yugi.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff on there. Check it out for sure. But let's get to Mike Pollock. No, I'm not going to do that again because that sounded ridiculous. What was even that voice?
I thought you were going to try and come up with a pun. I was like, oh, this should be good.
I got no puns. I got nothing in my back pocket.
Let's get Pollock and.
Whenever do you ever do this? Like, I think of people as their Instagram or Twitter handle. Like when I think of Mike Pollock, I think of @It'sAMike.
I'm so bad at remembering like usernames and stuff. I'll follow a ton of people, and I'll follow artists too. I'll forget what their username is, but I'll always remember what their icon is.
Oh, okay. I'm the opposite. Like, I remember, I'll forget their name, but I'll forget their real name, but I'll know their like username. But what's nice is at conventions, sometimes people will come up to me and be like, "Oh, I'm so and so on Twitter," and I'm like, and I won't call it X, but and I'm like, "Oh, then I know who they are." But if they say their real name, I'm like, I don't know who you are. And
I run into that sometimes. Like people say, I'm this person. I'm like, what's your avatar? And they're like, it's of this character. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Mike has just entered our Zoom waiting room, so we are going to stop talking and let him in. Here's It's a Mike. Our guest today is Mike Pollock. Don't call him Michael. Don't call him Dr. Eggman. Wait, can I call you Doctor, though? Do you insist on being called Doctor in your personal life?
Dr. Pollock was my uncle, but in his memory, sure.
So our guest today is Mike Pollock. He appeared on numerous 4Kids projects. Like, he was in Ninja Turtles. He was on Pokémon. He was on Yu-Gi-Oh! He was on Viva Pinata. Who can forget that?
He was on practically every commercial and promo.
He was, yeah.
On an all-new Fox box. Thank you.
It's a good voice.
Thank you.
He was the promo guy. He did it all, but most importantly, because I know there are some Sonic heads listening. I don't know if Sonic heads is what they go by, but he is and was Dr. Eggman. Welcome to the show, Mike Pollock.
Thank you so much. It's been 20 years of Dr. Eggman this past August, but who's counting? Thank you.
So wait, that was the anniversary of
August
you
23rd
starting it.
Was our sneak preview on the Fox box. So, yeah.
Okay, so I guess we should start at the beginning.
Sure.
How you were doing dubbing and anime work, I believe, in New York City before the whole 4Kids thing even started. Is that correct?
It kind of all took off simultaneously. Before that, I've been doing radio and radio syndication. My syndication gig took the opportunity to give me a nice little layoff notice. And I said, well, I've got this demo tape that I can freshen up, and shopped it around. And the first gig I got was an episode of Pokémon, a little walk-on role, and then an anime with NYAV Post. And Eric Stewart, who directed Pokémon, remembered me when the Fox box became a thing, and they brought me in as the Kirby and Meat and Ultimate Muscle and eventually Dr. Eggman and all the other stuff I'm sure we'll get to discussing. But yeah, the first dub thing I did was right around 2000, and Fox box came around in 2002, 2. So yeah, it blossomed simultaneously.
Yeah. I know this is kind of a cliche question, but was doing voiceover work on your radar when you grew up, like as a kid?
Loved theater, loved radio. My radio, the highlights of my radio career, such as it was doing characters in commercials and comedy bits. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed that. And the internet wasn't really a thing where I would have educated myself to learn that, this actually goes on a lot more. So I stumbled into it when radio started to get rid of me. And the first demo tapes that I sent out were on cassette, and they went to a blind box advertisement in the Backstage newspaper on print at the time. So yeah, had the internet been a thing, I would have started this much earlier than my mid-30s.
Right. And so was anime on your radar at all? I know, like, for you and I growing up, I didn't know about anime. Did you know anything about it? I knew Speed Racer. That was it. Yeah.
Kimba the White Lion. Which is cool because I was eventually part of Jungle Emperor Leo.
Me too. With Michael. So I still have a cell from that Michael gave me, which is cool. I should hold on to that forever.
Yeah, so younger me appreciated what older me fell into. But no, as far as anime then, not really a thing the way it is now, thanks to the internet. My son has that fever, and to some extent so does my daughter, but I did not. I remember the first dub I did with Michael for Demon Fighter Kocho. He gave me a VHS tape and said, "Here, watch this for reference." What is? I don't. This first of all, it's in Japanese, and I can't follow the plot. And was that helpful at all? No,
wait,
not
there weren't
really. No.
Even subtitles. He just said, "Watch this."
I think it was subbed, but it didn't help. So I think, what is going on? So I've eventually learned the best thing to do is make sure your director thinks you sound like you know what you're talking about. And that's often the safest approach.
Steve and I were talking before, like, you are one of the first guests that we're talking to who did a lot with the promo department at 4Kids. What was that experience like? Did you audition, or was that just something like Eric Stewart was like, hey, give that to Mike?
He had me narrating a couple of things, but I remember the actual promo thing happened as we were moving from Manhattan to the suburbs. We were in the middle of packing, and my phone rang. I believe it was a cell phone at the time. I think that was a thing. And it was there was 4Kids calling to say, we need a guy for the promos, and we'd like it to be you. Are you free now?
And you had all
Hang
the
on,
moving boxes.
honey. Yeah, and I asked my wife if I could be excused, and I headed down and started doing promos. So that would be a direct result of the radio experience because my dopey radio voice has come in handy.
I enjoy your radio voice. Steve, you probably remember, Steve watched a lot of this growing up. You probably remember the promos a lot better than I do. There was some wacky stuff. Is there anything that stands out to you? Got either one of you that we should hit on?
I enjoyed talking back to the animated characters, which happened occasionally. On one of my demo collections, I have an Ultimate Muscle promo with me talking to the guy with a butt for a face, whose name I forget. And I was actually having a bit of a dialogue. But it was really cool. No. Close enough. But it was cool when I got to be a part of the promo, like doing a line from me to a line from Dr. Eggman was always, oh, cool, you remember that I do this other stuff.
Let's talk about Ultimate Muscle.
Please.
Yeah. Now, did you? I still can't believe that was allowed on the air. As you know, with all the censorship going on at 4Kids, which they had to do for standards and practices. Do you remember thinking like, how are we getting away with this, or was it not on your radar to think that?
I remember they censored the flatulence and turned them into trombones. It's like, okay, that's valid. But no, I was so thrilled to be a part of it. It was, I guess, my second series. The first series would have been Kirby Right Back At Ya. And I remember getting that call when we were out at dinner and I was offered the role of the mayor. Hey, I got a series, such as it was. But as far as Ultimate Muscle, yeah, there was definitely an adult level of humor going on as well. And I enjoyed that. And the recording sessions for that, just laughing with Eric and with Sean, just hysterical.
Were you aware of all the censorship going on at 4Kids? I felt like we saw it really towards the end when maybe all that was done. But were you? I was dumb about all this stuff, or I just wasn't involved. So did you know? I think you knew more than I did. It sounds like.
I found my way into online forums because I'm the geek that I am. So there was an Ultimate Muscle. The muscle toys from the 80s that were based on the original Kinnikuman series had an online forum, not even, I mean, it's whatever the equivalent of that was, just a dedicated online bulletin board. And I searched and found it and inserted myself into the conversation.
I love
because
that.
there was a lot of, thank you, there's misinformation going around. And I said, this will not stand. And there were a lot of people wondering, why did you change it? Meat sounds like an old truck driver instead of a little girl. Comedy. I don't know. But yes, I became aware over time of the hatred that certain purists have. And to them, I had to explain, it's an adaptation. It's not a direct translation. Sorry. But yeah, it became more aware as the years went on.
Susie, we interviewed Susie Goldish, and she's the one who told us that you were in these forums. She said you would come in and tell her things and be like, oh, and they hate you.
Yeah.
She's had a lot of therapy. She's doing okay. But yeah,
she is now the engineer for Sonic stuff out west.
Exactly.
So that's come full circle. And shut up, everyone.
I can't say this about the Sonic stuff, but I recently, when revisiting the series, I was just looking up. I'm like, oh, is there a good guide out there for like tracking like what changes were made to Ultimate Muscle? And the forum you were on talking to people is still up. It still stands. I was just coming through, and then I realized that I'm like, this account says "man behind the meat," and I'm like, oh, this is Mike Pollock.
Disguise yourself.
And it's like This is like 2003 too, and yeah, it's still up if you could find it. But
Mike, you were a pioneer.
Yeah, I mean, good on you.
Such as it was, yes, thank you.
Do you remember ever seeing artwork that was like, oh my God, I bet they're gonna cover this up?
Yes, I remember some specific censorship in Ultimate Muscle where someone was being crucified.
Oh, kids love that.
And yes.
I've been hearing about this one a lot. I've been hearing this one come up a lot in conversations.
They rotoscoped it so that it became a lobster outfit, basically, that flies in from the side of the screen, and they're up in a lobster costume. Okay.
Is crucifixion really big with kids in Japan? Like, what is
I
that?
don't know.
I can't even.
Japan just like throws around willy nilly. They just they just use it's like putting like I don't know. It's like putting a yin yang on everything. Japan just thinks like, oh yeah, this is neat. Let's just like use this motif for everything.
It's not one world.
Not realizing it.
Very interesting. So I know that you were the narrator for Pokemon. Some people had questions about that. What years were you doing that? The internet is incorrect, so I'd rather get this from you. I
was the interim narrator from Bulbapedia has it, but it was I'm gonna look it up now. Advanced Generations. Thank you. Advanced Generations. Whereas my understanding there was some employment questions with perhaps additional compensation being requested and denied, and suddenly the job opened up.
Okay.
And I had it until production moved out of 4Kids.
Got it.
And then the 2-year non-compete clause kicked in, and 2 years later I resurfaced as Mr. Contesta again.
I'm glad you said that, because that was one of the mysteries we uncovered here, was that because some actors do not remember having that non-compete clause, and yeah, so do you remember someone actually saying to you, you are not allowed to do this, if you go and work for them, you will not be allowed to work on 4Kids projects, or was it just sort of understood?
It was understood, but I remember it came up in conversation specifically with Sonic, because Sonic was with 4Kids until 2010. And I remember this vividly, too. We were standing at Sears in the customer service department when Sears still existed, and the phone rang. Hi, this is somebody or other from Sega. We want to fly out for a thing. Sega, the video game people? I've never spoken with you directly. Hello. And that's when I started asking people with more knowledge of the contracts, should I do this because it hasn't been 2 years? And you'd be stupid not to, I was told. And as it turns out, as 4Kids slowly dissolved, it became a non-issue. And
so that's how that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if other actors were approached from the original 4Kids, or was it just you?
I believe, in the first recording session was Sonic Colors, which was done at a New York studio, and I met the LA people for the first time, and my first question was, am I the only one? As far as we know, you are. I said, okay. No, I don't know why. I mean, one can surmise, but it was not addressed, but it was the elephant in the room. But it's the way this business goes.
Yeah.
As I tell people, I auditioned for Dr. Eggman. I booked it, but you have no idea who the rest of the applicants were. Neither do I.
Right, of course.
The runners up in history.
Do you actually remember the audition for Dr. Eggman? You
I do. Do I remember where I was? I do not, but I remember that they emailed me samples of the previous guy, Dean Bristow, to voice match. So I started working on my Dean Bristow voice. Dean Bristow. Went in for an audition, a callback, a second callback, each time doing my Dean Bristow thing. And by the third one, they were apparently convinced that I would do.
Does that hurt your throat? That sounds like it
does
hurts.
When it's the Dean Bristow thing does. Fortunately, the second or third episode in, Michael and Andrew, producer and director respectively, said, we're going to want you to modify the voice for comedy, giving you the template of Jiminy Glick, the Martin Short character, who starts up way up high and then goes way down low.
I love that.
Thank you. It settled naturally in a more comfortable place, which is good because I've been using it a lot. But no, as far as being able to, the original Dean Bristow thing, which you can hear in the early episodes, first of all, yes, there's not much room for comedy, but also it was not a great place to be. But for those who say, Dean Bristow is better, I booked it by being a sound-alike for Dean Bristow. So, I have that debt of gratitude.
No, wait,
yes.
Do you still go on? Then, sorry, go on.
No, the thing that I really remember is Ella the Maid, which people are still shocked to find that I voiced Ella the Maid. Couple episodes in, Hagney walked in and said to Reynolds, have we found anyone for Ella the Maid yet? No. Why don't you have Mike do it? What did you have in mind? Just whatever comes to mind. Don't make it offensive. Okay, well, I guess we play on the stereotypes as we all did back in the day.
Yeah,
and
we'd be canceled today for that. Yeah.
Yes. They said, great, just soften it so it's less offensive. And then the next week I came back, Ella the maid, what happened with that? Oh, we got someone else to do it. The week after, oh, no, now it's you. Okay.
This is like such classic 4Kids hijinks. Like, you're a role, then you're not, then you're... Like, Megan told the story, like, she was replaced as a character because they didn't like what she was doing, and then that person went away, so they brought her back. Like, it was so haphazard and often
tell the players with
insulting. It was like we could have been very insulted by some of this stuff.
We didn't know.
Well, at a certain point, like, I know when I moved to LA the first time, it was because I was kind of fed up with a lot of it. Like, I was like, we're making little money and I'm being insulted all the time.
I was just thrilled that I was able to moonlight for my real life radio gig for a while until the boss.
What was your radio gig?
I was, at that point, I was in this radio syndication outfit, so I was regurgitating the news to turn up the following morning on radio stations 12 hours old, which is stupid, and writing comedy bits and song parodies, which was fun until we decided, we don't want to spend money on that. Just do this boring stuff and regurgitate celebrity birthdays. And because I had been laid off and then came back, they hired me back, I was still doing the 4Kids stuff. And I would sneak out at lunch until the boss said, no 2-hour lunches ever. So just, okay, duck out, do an hour, come back. And it was much more fun doing the 4Kids stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually when they kicked me to the curb, 2008, it was still the tail end of 4Kids, and I was able to still keep doing that.
Do you still troll the message boards?
Twitter is there. I don't go into dedicated message boards very often. I'm in some of the Sonic ones. But usually people don't believe it's me. But I'm in the subreddit.
Oh,
and if
interesting.
You go to the subreddit, you'll see it's me.
This is such a terrible question, and you don't have to answer it, but I know I have read terrible things about myself. Do you sometimes read just terrible, mean things about yourself?
Constantly. People don't like my honesty because, first of all, I'm an old crotchety New York Jew, and I behave that way. If stuff is unjust, I will point that out. And I said, life is not all sunshine and unicorns, kids. I audition constantly and seldom get hired. So sorry if I sound bitter, but this is a business and it's a somewhat cruel business. So don't come to me with your custom dialogue requests. The characters don't belong to me. I'm probably going to say no, and you'll be angry. There is a now infamous meme, a fan dub of Sonic Adventure that wasn't even my voicing originally, but it's just blatantly offensive with little redeeming qualities. Fine, I'm not judging that, but people came to me shortly after that came into existence and said, could you record this yourself?
No.
No. And I made a video to that extent, I with the delightful mislead of the opening line, and then here's why that's not happening, kids.
Well,
and I was at a convention, the last convention appearance. Some kid, spur of the moment, obviously, he wasn't prepared to talk to me. But he saw me, popped his phone out. Could you do that thing, the announcement? No, I can't. Thank you. Thanks for stopping.
When I put on...
Thanks for your contribution. Thanks for...
I can't help you. Sorry, I don't want to get fired.
You know, it's funny because like I think things have changed so much since I was like going to conventions on the regular, and I think, you know, actors were maybe a little more open to doing this, and I think also sometimes a lot of roles have come and gone. Eggman is still going. You're still playing Eggman, so there's a huge conflict of interest there. But nowadays, I think with just like since like social media and the internet like blew up the way it did in the last like 10 years, it's like everyone's just looking for, I hate to use the dirty word, content. They just want to put content out there.
The word I believe you're looking
and
for
I
is
remember,
trophy.
Yeah, it's, and then with just like, and they, you know, and they expect everything's free. I remember one actor kind of describing this behavior like a while back, saying it, and I could tie it into 4Kids. It's like, it's sometimes they treat it like it's like they're catching Pokémon. It's just, you know, I just want to get this actor to say this, and it's just like kind of like, you know, really no respect to them or the craft. So maybe I'm an old curmudgeon too here. So, but I'll say I'm like, yeah, it's, you know, there's reasons why, and yeah.
The first time it happened to me, someone had me say what turned out to be an infamous meme that I was not aware of. And it was only later when it surfaced online with the words, "I got Mike Pollock to say, I see. Congratulations on your trophy. You've ruined it for everyone!"
I like when I asked people on Twitter what questions to ask you. One of them said, ask who he likes better, the old cast or the new cast. And I thought, and I just wrote, I'm not going to ask that. But let's go individually through each of them. And from 1 to 10, how much you like them. No, I'm just kidding.
They're all great.
With Dean Bristow. How great was Dean Bristow?
Someone liked them enough to audition. Ask me about Jim Carrey. No, don't! Even with Jim Carrey, someone liked them enough to cast them. So what does my opinion matter?
No, it's so silly, like the things that people think I might actually ask you to.
And I appreciate, again, I've been 12, so what's your favorite whatever is a legitimate question when you're 12.
Well,
when your life is about favorite ice cream.
Well, I was just going to say, I have a new drinking game at conventions. Every time someone says the word favorite in a question to me, you do a shot. I don't really. I just do the shot of water because otherwise we'd be wasted. But it's often.
Sure. As someone who's had some journalistic training through school, there are skills involved with interviewing, and that's why you don't see who's a famous news. I don't watch television. You don't see, let's say, Dan Rather, who's not a thing anymore. So, what's your favorite food? It doesn't really.
I was going to ask your favorite color, but no, I won't. Sorry, Steve, go on.
Well, if I could tie some anything, what's really neat about like what Sega and like Sonic has done with the characters over the years is I feel like they've let you kind of branch out and do more things. I know like Sonic, they'll do a live stream where you're playing your character and you get to answer fan questions. And I'm pretty sure you did like the Lego commercials recently too, right?
Those
like there's a lot more. It feels a little less constraining as maybe it did, 10 years ago or so. I think they're allowing you guys to do more fun stuff that's on the clock. But you also got to work on Sonic Boom cartoon. Allow me to just ask about that, like, because and I'm not going to ask it away. It's like, would you like voicing more Eggman in Sonic X or Eggman in Sonic Boom? But what were some of the differences in working on Sonic Boom as opposed to dubbing Sonic X?
Sonic Boom was, if I had to pick a favorite experience, yes, it's Sonic Boom. Only because it's a prelay cartoon. We did that at 4Kids a little with Turtles, but this was full on me and a bunch of LA people. Now, most of the time I was remote in New York, which is fantastic that they were so generous to rent a studio for me for 4 extra hours. But they flew me out a couple times to workshop stuff. And I realized when I'm standing in the room with everyone that I forget that I can look at them because they're there. Yes. I'm used to hearing everyone in headphones and, you're the people behind the glass. I can see you. But yeah, they flew me out to workshop stuff, and our live record sessions, as remote as I was, were hysterical. Just laughing, me trying to get a word in edgewise because I'm just a wire in space. But we laughed. We had a blast. I wish I could have been there in person more of the time, but I'm delighted whenever they fly me out for stuff, which they do. The Twitter takeovers, I'm usually there in person, except during the pandemic when we realized we could do them all remotely.
And you'll never get flown again.
No. When pandemic lifted, most of us were in person.
So do you think like Eggman has got even more Jiminy Glick over the years than initially? My voice is showing my age. I mean, the ear, nose, throat guy looks and says, you're good, but I'm still, bits of me are falling off. So I am playing more into the age as I approach the age of the character. But yeah, especially Sonic Boom, he became crotchety old neighbor man as opposed to evil villain. And yeah, the Jiminy Glick stuff is always there, and with the range of the character, doing the highs and lows, as long as my voice will support that. I apologize because maybe you've mentioned this before, but just that the Jiminy Glick and Sonic, I never thought I would see this crossover until today. And
yet to be an actual crossover, but that was the description I was given, and that's the one I
For our younger fans who might not even know who Jiminy Glick is, please go look it up. Do yourself a favor. Martin Short. Just look up Martin Short, Jiminy Glick. Jimeny, I believe. Glick.
INY.
Yeah, INY. One of those. You'll find it.
And you'll.
Wow, I'm fantasy booking this for myself now, but I would just love to see maybe later years Eggman get into just interviewing people like Jiminy Glick.
And if our paths ever cross,
I'm sorry,
I'll chat about it.
Yeah.
One of our fan questions for you was about playing Mr. Contesta. You got to do that years later. Can you talk a little bit about that role?
As far as a character, there wasn't a lot to him. He's just kind of a big get out for your boys kind of guy, commenting on games. But the coolest part was being called back after the transition. I don't know if he existed in between, but I know that one day Tom Whalen called and said, "Hey, we're doing Pokemon now. You want to come be Mr. Contest again?" Do I? And I was back doing the same old thing. And that was really cool. And that brought me into the new generation of Pokemon stuff, which was very cool. But yeah, just anytime I'm asked to reprise a role, Berserk is one example. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for having me back that's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people come up to you and tell you this, but like one of the audio bits of you I always think of are those bloopers from the original Berserk dub. I remember the all your base reference, and that just like kills me every time. I think of your voice more for that meme than I do the original.
Thank you. And footnote to trivia, booked Berserk first. So for everyone who says that Adon sounds like Dr. Eggman, it's actually the other way.
Oh.
Not a conscious decision, but as I point out, me yelling is me yelling.
Well, I was just going to say someone at Puffy Topian Man did ask that question. Like sometimes someone says to you, "You sound like this and this character when you do that." Like I just go, "Yeah, it's me." So yeah, there's a limit. Well, how do you answer that question? How do you
Don't get me started. But since you've gotten me started, the fiction theater relies on the element of surprise and suspending your disbelief. So yeah, it's the same actor. You see an actor on stage, it's more obvious that it's them. But in between the similarities, there are subtle character differences that apparently I'm the only one noticing. Like, for example, if there's a dialect laid over the same vocal range of Dr. Eggman, suddenly, oh, that's Dr. Eggman. It's actually Dr. Eggman, but from the Bronx. It's different. Apparently I'm the only one that notices. So if it were me, I would give an actor the benefit of the doubt, saying, that's a bit of range you're showing.
Right.
But kids and their pareidolia sensing pattern recognition, oh, that's the same voice.
Well,
So
I mean, I always explain that there were about 20 of us doing the majority of the roles on this show. So I kind of think it's fun that they can recognize the different voices. Like, and again, it was we could work quickly, so that's why we were brought back. But there's a limit to our vocal range.
But I also love the opposite things where you were Ella the Maid? You were Volcanion? Yes, I was. Thank you.
Totally.
So you're welcome.
Because then it's a real compliment when it's like, oh, I tricked you, but I don't know.
And that's not the goal, but it's, it's like going to McDonald's. Everything tastes like a Big Mac here. That's probably not what they want you to think.
Someone sent in this question, and I really enjoy this because, well, you tell me. At A1 Judge J, wants to know, was there ever a point when you read a script and you were like, okay, genuinely, what is going on in this show?
Always.
Exactly.
As much as I would love to be familiar with the material, we are short order cooks. We are there for our expediency. We will have stuff explained to us before we go record. By the time we hit our first take, I've forgotten what was told to me. And basically it's, director, you know how this is supposed to sound, right? Does it sound like you know what I'm talking about? Great.
Exactly.
Because it's not a slam against what we're doing. It's just the nature of the business. It's what we do is so delightfully clinical sometimes that I wish people could watch more than they can. But it's a lot of, okay, that's a line. Here's the next line. There's a third line. We're going to interweave that with other people who have recorded or will record and hope it matches. And then it sounds like we're having a conversation when we were separated by time and place.
Well, and the truth is some directors were better than others, and some directors got access to more episodes in advance than others. If you were the first to record, you were often screwed, so that was out of our hands completely.
Yeah, and 4Kids tended not to reference the Japanese, at least when we were in the booth. So you don't sound like the Japanese. They didn't play the Japanese.
No, it wasn't.
We're not there to mimic the Japanese. It's not our job. But yeah, so I think what we did came out nice under the circumstances.
Did you I never met any of our Japanese bosses or anything like that. I mean, people said like, oh, did you have any interaction with the writers? Or did you have any experiences like that?
They came through on tours. When the Sonic games were being recorded at Sonic X, some of the Sega people came in and there was always a random Japanese person or two translating and stuff. Said, hello, you must be someone important. How are you? Nice to meet you. But no, other than passing people, I had tours come through when I was recording. It's like, hi, welcome to the zoo.
Right.
Throw some peanuts. I'm going to perform now. But no, I bought a share of stock so I could go to the stockholder meeting and met Al Khan.
Oh.
That was about the extent of the excitement. Hi, I voiced your sizzle reel for this presentation. Hello.
But I didn't know the writers really. Now that I'm doing this podcast, I'm meeting all these people I wish I had known. Did you have much interaction with the rest of the staff there?
I wish I had more interaction too with everyone. I mean, it was there ultimately for an hour a day, whenever possible.
Yeah.
And I would see familiar faces. Lives would intermix, like John Kalish, because I was in the opening theme of Ultimate Muscle. So he brought me into his little back room. If he only had some guts. Great, Nick. And then I was able to say, hey, hi, John. I'm good to see you. But no, just familiar faces. But no, there was, apart from the occasional negative interaction, which is a story we can get into later, everyone was swell.
Did you, what now, should we get into that?
Sure. A creepy fan interaction.
Oh, a creepy fan interaction.
Yes.
I don't know about this. I'm so sorry.
Is a cute little story. That's okay.
Okay.
When I was able to have the 2-hour lunches, and if I had 2 gigs back to back, I would stop at Starbucks in between and do the day job work. So I was generous with my time, and somebody said, I'm going to be in New York. Can I meet you? I said, well, if you must, public place, I'll be at Starbucks from 2 to 2:15. Come in, we'll have coffee. Came in. All she really wanted to know was what's Dan Green really like. Okay.
Wow.
Great. Ooh. We talked about Dan Green, and they said, well, I got to go. I'm off to 4Kids. By the way, I'd normally be wearing a watch. I'm not looking at my bad wrist. I'm off to...
it would have been funnier in the moment if you weren't wearing a watch.
That's right.
Look at the time.
No, I had to go to 4Kids, and I said, can I come? Well, you can follow me to the door, but sure, because it's a listed. Well, the address is listed. That wasn't so hard. Went to the lobby. I get through security. I go upstairs. I start doing what I'm doing. I come out. Brenda Dillon's there. Did you say someone could come and have a tour? No. This kid came up and tried to get a tour, and I explained that this is a place of business. Oh, she followed me, and she weaseled her way up to... Oh, so yeah, I got a little lecture from Brenda.
Well, that is kind of creepy, but
it was creepy.
Dan Green was I suppose the who would be the Brad Pitt of 4Kids. I don't know. He was the stud of the 4Kids posse.
Yes.
We'll save that, and we'll do that in another episode where we got to determine what
who's your favorite Brad Pitt?
Steve, I'm going to let you handle the One Piece questions.
Oh, I thought it's like it handled the questions about creepy fan interactions.
That's a separate
podcast.
Cool,
I got this. Just like an interesting little tidbit here. Well, I don't know if this has ever been brought up to you. but I believe you're one of the only actors that was in both the 4Kids and the current Funimation Crunchyroll version of One Piece.
I was somewhat aware that was the case because I was thrilled to be invited. And I did point out, I used to do the promos because I was never actually in 4Kids One Piece, but I was One Piece promo guy for a while. On an all-new One Piece!
You were One Piece adjacent.
Yeah, but I was saying, oh God, this explains me, but like I was explaining this to Tara, and I'm like, I don't think he ever voiced a character in the show, but due to a technicality, you were in an episode because they just spliced in a promo you did into an episode. So it's like, he's in it.
Now it's
like,
canon.
So, yeah, it's being yes. So being One Piece adjacent and then One Piece new dub was really cool. So, and I don't think they knew that at the time. And that happens.
Yeah,
more often
I'm curious.
Yeah, more often than not, the things that folks think are intentional are coincidental. There's a moment in Sonic Boom where I do the famous snooping as usual meme, which is the one that I was trophied for originally. And, well, Mike's never going to say that. He's vowed never to say it. If it's in a script that they hand to me, I'm saying it. And so I did it. And before the episode was recorded, I texted the writer saying, really? We're doing it? Okay, fine. And then years later, we were discussing this, and he said, oh, is that a thing? Was that a meme? I didn't know. Uh-huh. Thank you. So, yes, what is meme to you is, oh, is that a thing? To everyone else. So I think the One Piece casting was coincidental as far as One Piece versus One Piece.
Who was it that reached out to you to be in the show?
I would have to dig through emails. It was just whoever was casting.
Did you audition for it? Or was it a part that they were like, this guy would be good for that?
I believe I auditioned. I'd have to go back through emails, but I think there was
now you have a whole other job going through emails when we're done here. No, I'm just kidding. We will not force you.
Footnoting the episode.
Yeah. I'm always curious because like that show, it has such a huge cast, and like I can't help but wonder sometimes it's like, yeah, like probably there's a lot of auditions, probably like we got to get someone in the booth. I'm like, you know what? And it's like, hey, I met Mike at a con. He's great. Let's get him on the show.
Keep talking. I'll do a quick search.
Oh, you don't really have to do that.
I'd like to know.
I only asked because this is just my nerdies coming out. I'm like, oh, maybe it was a certain director that was like, hey, like Mike would be really good, or it was just maybe just like, yeah, your name was just in the Rolodex, if it were. But
so often I never know.
I'm curious if
so.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like the afterwards, if like you said, like, hey, I was in the 4Kids one, was the reaction? I'm curious what the reaction was to that, or if it was interesting, or if it was just, oh, okay.
One Piece auditions. February 24th, 2022. And then a Funimation log, March 4th, 2022. So
you did audition.
Yeah, I booked. That was an audition.
I love that. So because you and I have been doing the anime game for quite some time, and now there is the internet, do you approach your work or your auditions to animate differently since now we do have access to more information?
No.
Okay.
If they provide a sample, I'll listen to the sample. But I learned early on from Ultimate Muscle, Meat from Ultimate Muscle sounded completely different, and the storyline was completely different. So me trying to add additional research does more harm than good. Mm-hmm. So no, I always figured that the producers and directors and writers, it's their story, and they'll tell me what I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was at a convention recently with a younger actor, and they were like, they had an audition, and they were going to start reading the manga, and all. I was like, oh gosh, if that's who I'm competing against, and they know all this. But sometimes it's too much information as an actor. Like, your instincts are what are probably going to get you the job. Information helps, of course.
Yeah, I recently had my Off-Broadway debut, so I was doing a play for a couple of months, and I was realizing the difference in the process. Doing a play with what should have been more rehearsal than there was, and all the performances, you're going to learn a lot more about the material just by doing it.
Yeah.
We don't have that luxury. I mean, sometimes, there were 3 takes? Well, by the 3rd take, look, I'm off book. I guess I know more about this than I did before. But there's not... Unless there is additional information just from my own life, little trivia bits of, this place in Japan is a place which has nothing to do with the story. No, what I know is not as important as the story as a whole.
Well, and it's being a great cold reader. And your years in radio obviously prepared you for that. Like, it sounds like that was sort of the perfect job to segue into.
Yes, I'm glad radio was still a thing back then.
I know. It's sad, right? Oh, man.
Don't get me started. I will say, for all those who hate 4Kids, you should have been there, because there was a much different experience working there, even as the freelancers we were. Yeah, there were weird moments, but on the whole, everyone was nice. Everyone was good.
Yeah.
Was glad to see you. So I long for those. And it was recurring work.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest thing. It's like, next week and the week after, and cool. And now it's, the exception of Sonic. Okay, what's tomorrow? I don't know.
Yeah. It was the best training we could have gotten as young voice actors, because I just said yes to, like, they said, can you do this voice? Sure. And I figured out if I could do it or not. And I learned on the job. And I don't know where else I would have gotten training like that. Because there weren't voiceover coaches and classes. I mean, there were a few, but not like there are today.
I went to get coaching after I'd been doing 4Kids, so my animation demo is real stuff.
Right.
And I was teaching the coach about stuff. I was like, this is not how I was hoping to have this experience. But yeah, it was a great training ground, and I'm delighted that I got to be a part of it. And the fortuitous cassette to a blind box that panned out into what you see today.
Have you ever seen it all where it's kind of like come full circle in a way? It's like, yeah, like, of course, 4Kids, and, within reason, like, dealt with so much criticism. But now, like, have you been gotten some people who are maybe like a little bit older now that might be coming to your conventions? Like, I grew up with this dub of this show and I love this. And like, has that been more of a reoccurring thing now? Because it's almost like, yeah, it was what it was. But.
It's great to see people that have grown up with me. I've grown up too. I'm much older than I was before. But yeah, I just like the things I grew up with in my childhood. I am other people's childhoods. I'm my own kid's childhood. Son born in 2002, just as this was all getting off the ground. And so, yeah, I'm delighted that there are people who have grown up with me and who've matured into reasonable intelligent and reasonable people who no longer fight about how the censorship.
And what about that stalker? Have you seen her again?
She was at a convention and did not appreciate my relaying the story.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry,
okay.
I'm not naming.
We're not naming names.
Really?
The story is too memorable to forget.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy pants. So I know you're still doing Doctor. I've been not calling you Doctor through this interview. I apologize. You're still recording Dr. Eggman. And I saw you were just in a recent Netflix show, Pluto. You're still working all the time. Is there anything you want to talk about from recent years or anything you want to plug?
Let's see. Well, Pluto is a thing. I just did a Czechoslovakian stop motion animation thing, a little side character. It's far too soon to be out yet, and I probably already said too much, but that was the most recent thing I did. I'm back on convention things. Tonight, an appearance in my old Nassau County haunt, the East Meadow Public Library, will be seeing me.
Whoop.
And then this weekend, as of the time we're recording, reuniting with Jason Griffith, Lisa Ortiz, Pete Capella, and new friend Ryan Bartley at a Sonic Expo in Dallas.
Oh.
So I'm delighted to be working with some fine new representatives that will get me to even more new and exciting things. Well, and still on social media, being the grouchy old man that I am.
And I only know you by your social media handle. It's a Mike.
Which people ask, is that about It's a Mario? It's not. It's actually an even older, more obscure SNL reference. There was a comedy bit on SNL, a sketch of the Minkman brothers who made their fortune in the novelty industry, making fake dog duty and things. And at one point, their expression of quality, it's a Minkman, which to me in my New York City area brain, it's a Mike, so it must be quality.
I did not know that. I'm ashamed that I didn't know that.
It's okay. It's on my website.
So while I hang my head in shame, Mike Pollock, thank you so much for talking with us.
Oh, certainly, Tara. Thank you so much for asking, Steve. Thank you so much as well.
That was It's a Mike Pollock.
That's a Mike.
That's a Mike. I love that he was in those forums early days. That is fascinating to me.
I mean, I don't wish that upon anybody, because I think just going off of what like the internet is today and social media, it's where you could just, instant criticism in your face, whether, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Well, let's not forget, sometimes you were the one writing that back in the day, Steve.
I suppose I was.
You were. What forums were you in?
Let's see. Shaman King Uncensored. I was on a big One Piece forum called Arlong Park back in the day, where the whole focus wasn't talking about just 4Kids, but like I said, I did join the 4Kids TV forums back in the day. Wow, it's like, and I'm thinking at the time, like, wow, it's like I'm doing a good thing. I'm kind of just I'm like, hey, just so you know,
you're
like,
helping.
It's like, this is it's amazing how I'm sure like for the people moderating those forums couldn't just keep up with people saying like they changed this. Don't like watch the Japanese version or,
right.
But wow, I'm just thinking back then. I'm like, wow, I could have done something else with my life. Which I think is fair, but kind of just seeing where my life went, and I'm like, well,
no,
I guess you need you need someone with that who made those choices.
And here we are now, talking about it.
I don't know. I this is weird. Or kind of sappy or sentimental. I don't know. I was like thinking about the show lately, and like a part of me is like thankful. I'm like, yeah, like maybe I shouldn't have been like so invested in some of this stuff, watching these dubs that like were way outside my demographic, just talking about this specifically. But now it's kind of, it's nice that now it's kind of come full circle. And I'm like, well, now I'm getting to talk to all these people that work on this stuff. And
I love that.
And like, I have all these memories of this, and at least like I have like this niche interest in it. So like, I'm like, hey, at least like I'm using this for good.
Oh, totally. I think about the stuff I spent time on as a kid, or video games, or things that I'm definitely not using in my life. If I was to do a podcast where I talked about the minutia of musical theater, where I know every little nuance of stuff, I'd be like, oh, I'm using this.
Yeah.
Not that it was a waste of my time, but I'm like, we all do that as a kid, and you have more free time as a kid. So
I just think like I don't necessarily think I got this all the time, but I think like the old cliche of parents scolding kids for watching too much TV or playing too much video games, when it's like, no, that's like, but like all like the it's all like the trivia and all like the skills from that are like paying off now, because
maybe there'll be a video game tester or writer or creator.
There's jobs and there's and like there's jobs for this stuff. There's creative things. There's audiences for all this, and you could be you could be watching a lot worse things on TV every day. Or
I'm gonna expose Steve for a minute here.
Here we go.
But here we go. Sometimes I forget because we're just talking, and like he showed me a Bulbasaur plate that he has the other day, and I was so excited because it is touching that. And again, I know you don't have that plate because of me. Like I get that. I am not actually Bulbasaur. I'm not delusional. But it is nice to have reminders of that stuff. So while we say we don't want to ask typical fan questions on this show, as actors and all that, we like hearing it. If someone had a cell of a show that you did a storyboard for and showed it to you, I mean, it's flattering. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's neat to be part of people's lives without us even realizing.
I'm definitely guilty of not gushing on this show. I think I'm trying to get a little bit better. Like,
no, you're great.
We'll finish an interview and then I'll say something, and Tara's like, "Why didn't you say that during the interview?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't want to be,
And that's fair. I understand. I understand both sides of that. And just by virtue of you knowing this stuff, I think it indicates that you are a fan of it. So it doesn't have to be stated. We get it that you like it. On that note, we like you for listening. We like you a lot.
Yeah, especially if you're still here, if you're listening to our patented outros, we They like you more.
Or yeah, I can't imagine you're still listening. But if you are,
I like these now. Like it's so funny. Like we've come a long way. Because like Tara and I did not know each other before this show, and we basically had to come up with a chemistry on the fly. And I think we hit that sweet spot now. It's good. It's a real show now.
Well, I want to like almost re-record some of our intros and outros that we did early on where we were getting to know each other, but I think it's part of the show's evolution.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the shows don't air in the order we record them, so some will just be a little wonky.
I think it's part of the I think what's like one of the coolest things about being creative is like seeing how something grows with, you know, an artist or a creator.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I wouldn't want to like Star Wars Special Edition this at all. I'm like, no, I want you to see how it grows. But,
yeah. I get that. Something that would make Steve like y'all even more is if you went to patreon.com/4Kids Flashback and signed up. He'll write you a love letter. And draw something really cool on it. No, he won't.
No,
Sorry, I didn't mean to give
you're
you
making
more work.
so many promises, but
I still can't believe that person followed Mike up to the studios. And really just wanted to know about Dan Green.
I can.
You can?
Like, you know, just like, and not necessarily, like, not saying like I ran in the same circles as these people, but, you know, kind of just growing up as like a fan of dubs and like a fan of these actors. Yeah, there's the...
we need a beefcake of the month 4Kids calendar now. I really want to make that.
Wow.
But I've had people wait, like, it makes you wonder if that person's whole reason for meeting Mike was just to get to Dan, and that's why they were trying to get upstairs. Like, if this was all about
Dan. Sounds like it. Yeah,
it does.
And you got to think like Mike is one of like the few actors that is like making himself available online, to interact with. So he is a stepping stone.
I guess, but yeah, no, I'd be scared of all of that. But like, it does. I've had fans definitely wait online to talk to me just to ask me about if I know another actor, which I always think is so funny because I'm like, is it just to be closer? Like because then they're a smaller degree away from them. So I get that.
I think the key thing here is never never leave and say you're going to some place of interest. Just say, I don't know, be like, I gotta go take a shit.
Oh, right. Then she wouldn't have followed him. But he actually said, I mean, he's right. It was public information where the 4Kids office was. Mm-hmm. But I imagine that he got in the elevator and left her there. And then she said, oh, I'm with him. Yeah. And then that's why she was allowed on the elevator.
I've seen this stuff at conventions and all the time.
I don't know if we had to sign in that. I don't think, it's a long time ago, but I don't remember if there was actually signing in at that building. Because most of the buildings in New York, you just get in the elevator. There's not like a whole sign-in process. We'll have to ask someone about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, we've gone off the rails here. Thank you guys for listening. You know where to check us out. Oh, if you want merch with our logo or other stuff like Yayo, go to our website and click the link, 4kidsflashback.com. Click the links to shop, and you can see stuff there. And YouTube, we have our YouTube page that I am spending way too much time curating with all of the 4Kids you could ever want. It's just youtube.com/@4kidsflashback, but you have to put the @ in there, which is weird.
And yeah,
it's a YouTube thing.
Check that out. Yeah, haven't plugged that enough.
And now go do something else with your day. And we will.
Another episode,
or get back to your life.
Yeah.
And we will. I like to lead Stephen to his tagline. We will.
Or it's like, what? Until then. It's like, but until then. But until then.
Okay, you want me to do it? But until then. But until then.
We'll catch you next time.
No, that doesn't, Steve.
You don't think so?
But until then, we'll catch you next time? No, because until then, we'll catch you next time. That's not a sentence.
I don't know. I'm not a writer.
I don't think. Is it? Till then.
It's like,
But we will catch you next time.
Yeah.
I don't think until then, because until then, we're not catching you next time in the interim. We're catching you next time after. I'm so glad you guys are listening to us work through this.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
You guys let
back
us
to the
know
writing shop. I'm gonna learn how to construct sentences.
I didn't mean to critique it. That's why I never lead in with that. I always lead in with like, we will.
It's all good. I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna think about this, and while I do that, we'll catch you next time.
Bye. 4Kids Flashback is a production of Maji Media, hosted by Tara Sands and Steve Yurko.
Producers are Zach Logan, Tara Sands, and Steve Yurko.
For more information, go to 4kidsflashback.com. That is the number 4. And if you worked at 4Kids and have a story you want to share, please email us at 4kidsflashback@gmail.com.
You can find us on social media at 4Kids Flashback, and to listen early and ad-free, head to patreon.com/4kidsflashback. For podcast merchandise, find links on our website and Linktree.
As they say on every podcast, if you liked this show, please subscribe, rate, and review, and tell your friends, or 4. If you want to check out other Maji Media podcasts, go to Maji, M-A-J-I.media. Thanks for listening.